Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Atomic Salt Live Show. This is the show we're going to discuss everything in the tabletop hobby world. I am Wild Chevy, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Casey. Casey, how are you this week?
Oh, hello there. I didn't see you. Well, come on in. I'm doing pretty good. Yourself, Alan?
I'm doing good, getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah, it feels like we've been kind of down a little bit off. So, between Gladiator games and some other stuff, we're finally getting back to normal.
Yeah, well,
Seems like
whatever normal is.
we are not normal people. So, our normal, I guess, is a fairly different version of reality. So, what you been up to this week, man?
Um, yeah, wow, man, this is what wild week. I don't even think I had the time to catch a breath at all. I mean, life-wise, hobby-wise. I was able to get a game in. Played my Kalpakalki list that I've been trying to tinker with. Um,
How'd that work out for you? You showed me a draft of it, and
yeah,
it looks pretty good.
um, we played highly classified, and the third round, I I had him on the ropes, but then he remembered that you can complete. I was playing a Eugene player, and he remembered that he can do all our highly classified cards were HVT stuff, and he realized that he could. He had a the character Doctor Engineer tied to a remote, and so he just ramboed his remote across the board and grabbed grabbed more objectives, and I was like, oh, I couldn't do anything about it.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, highly classified can be like a really, really swingy mission, which is a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, it's hard to plan one of those to plan for because it's just up in the air.
This is true. Yeah,
But
the best you can do in highly classified is kind of just, get yourself right and make sure that your list is good and basically play the list the best that you know how. And, if the other person just outplays you, then that's the way it is.
it's just one of those. The points swing so much because you can get your secret one, but if your opponent gets more of the ones on the table, that's an additional 4 points. So that's how I lost. It was that little bonus boost.
There is no dishonor going out like that, sir. I wouldn't
Nope,
even worry about
it
it.
was fun. I mean, it was an enjoyable match. Uh, he ran a list that had the option for two link teams, two 5-man link teams. His main link team when he started out was these heavy infantry folks with 2 wounds.
Ooh, the Wu Ming,
I'm not sure. They had
newer
the heavy
models,
rocket, huh?
the newer models.
I'm not positive, but they had the heavy rocket launchers, and it was, but um, he was a little cocky on his setup and had a couple of them just sitting out there in the open. So I
Like
took
not even in cover.
not even in cover,
Wow, yeah, that is cocky.
and he was going first. Um, so yeah, I put up my total reaction remote and my sec bond link team. I'm like, all right, if you want to be cocky about this, let's see how you like some total reaction painting.
Yeah, that's like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for deploying aggressively, and I think with heavy infantry armies you kind of have to do that. But there's being aggressive and there's being stupidly reckless,
Yeah,
and that might have fallen in the latter category.
yeah. I mean, I was playing to the objective, and just like I said, it felt. that last turn, he was able to Rambo and um, took out all my key stuff that I needed to swing it back my way. So I was like, all right, that's a little kick in the teeth, but so it was a good game. Um, yeah, that went to our local game shop. They had um, a tournament, but I wasn't able to play because I had a busy Saturday. But I did pick up some scatter terrain stuff. So
Yeah,
they had this micro art studio box of scatter terrain.
yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah, and this stuff's pretty awesome. I mean, it is. I mean, nice, thick and chunky. So I'm gonna drop it in the bath here. Well, in the soap, the dish soap bath here in a bit,
Hmm.
and let it soak for a little bit, and come back later, and I'll be painting that up.
Boy, yeah. The nice thing about those is, depending on how, I mean, you can do them as nice or as simple as you want, but yeah, prime those bad boys, white, hit them with, one color, maybe two with like an airbrush, and then just give them a wash.
Yeah, like they
And
shown here. Yeah,
yeah, because I mean, that's really what it looks like they did right there is they just, you know, a base color, kind of a zenith highlight with the airbrush, and then wash those suckers, and they'll look just like that.
and I mean, I actually, in fact, have a full set of Minotaur paints coming in the mail.
Ooh, like the full set,
The,
or
yeah, the full set. Uh, I
like the
emailed Badger. I'm like, you guys got this killer deal going on right now at Gen Con. Are you guys selling it anywhere uh, outside of the con? And nobody replied. Completely forgot about it. And yeah, they said, hey, yeah, um, send us your information, what you want. And I'm like, cool. I'll take the compressor, and you know what? Might as well get the whole range of Minotaur. And it was a price I couldn't beat. So I'm like, yeah, on it.
yeah, I know what that con price is because I looked at it. It's pretty similar, if not identical, to LVO's.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it is a good price to the point where you're like, I had a really hard time not picking it up.
So yeah, I was like, so I'll be testing. I'll be testing that out with some ghost tints and all that. So
I like the ghost tints. I've played with them a little bit. I'm still getting the hang of them. I like their paints.
yeah,
It's funny. Like you go out there and people are like, oh my gosh, like I have problems with like tip dry with this and with that. I'm like, I don't understand you.
well, it also
Like,
depends on the area you are. I mean, we're in the dry, uh, the driest one of the driest states in the continent.
true, but that should mean that are more prone to tip dry. I think that's how that works.
Yeah. Well, so I think with mostly with my experience with airbrushing, it's a lot of um, messing around. It's
Yes,
big learning curves.
that's kind of what I figure, especially with a lot of painting in general. Like, you just gotta play with it, and I mean, don't like put yourself in a box either. Don't just say like, well, I'm just using these paints because somebody on the internet told me these other ones weren't any good.
Hmm.
Go out and try it for yourself. Try new stuff. You never know what might click with you.
I agree. So, how about you this week? Yeah, that was pretty much my week of the hobby.
I'll turn off my light there for a second and talk. So didn't do a whole lot painting wise, but as I'm painting Infinity stuff, I'll say I actually ran my very first session of the, I shouldn't say first session, but I ran a session of the Infinity RPG, and it was my first time as the DM or GM because there were no dungeons here.
What did you think?
You know,
Well, I guess, do you want to kind of run through the whole scenario or a little snippet?
so for you guys who have seen it or are involved with the RPG, this was basically kind of like the first module that they've given us. Not the quick start one with where you're aboard the orbital. This one, you're aboard a circular, and you've been called in to investigate a murder. So, and it's a murder of kind of a high level person, and it goes on from there. And the cool thing is you're on a circular, and so it's like a small city, and you kind of get to plumb the dark, seedy bits of infinity, right? Um, I don't know. Do we want to talk about what you got? So we had three people playing it. Like I said, I was the GM. We had yourself, who was playing Fallender, right? Is that how you say it?
Felindar.
Fel, Felendar. I mostly just shortened it to Fel.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's my for the people who know me, it's my character in World of Warcraft. That is just kind of my go-to name.
okay. And then we also had Yuri Kozatov, I believe, which was played by our friend Austin. And then we had uh, Hermione Granger, who was played by my wife. And evidently, I wasn't saying it well enough, so we just called her Whore. At her request, actually.
There's always that one person in the group.
You know what? Like, my wife just kind of lets loose with her inner craziness. Like, I didn't really know that she had all that in her. Um, well, I mean, I kind of did, but I didn't think she would be sharing that. Um, anyways, so, uh, and you guys are all rather combat oriented. There's no real hacking person. So, what happened was there was kind of a bit of a like a turf war amongst there. We had the the Knights of Santiago were there, and they were claiming jurisdiction, as was another branch of O12. And so, having Bureau Nor, which you guys were representing, show up, you were not immediately welcomed. The way that maybe a lot of parties start out being welcomed, like, oh, yay, you're here to save us. No, these guys are very much like, this is our turf, and we're not interested in having you here.
Yeah, it got really, really interesting after that.
Yeah, and I was expecting there to be, like some charisma checks, and a few other things. And no, my wife settled it pretty quickly by basically just throwing a flying knee into the biggest, toughest guy in the room, which happened to be a knight, the knight investigator who, fortunately was not in his power armor at the time. That it might have been different if he was. Totally took him by surprise, completely laid him out. And this kind of took him so much by surprise that he decided to play nice. And the O12 guy, who doesn't like him either, was so amused by it that he decided to help you guys just because he thought that was great to watch this guy get his butt handed to him.
Oh yeah, we all were like, okay, crazy chick in the room.
Everybody warned me. They're like, the players will go in different directions than what you assume they will. They're like, whatever there's about nothing you can assume they're going to do, or there's nothing that you assume that they're going to do that they will actually do. Other than like maybe drink and carouse. And you guys did a lot of that too. Um, So it's nice. You guys, you made some nice checks. You worked together, um, and you found just about everything in the room that there was to find. And you found a couple of pieces of information. There's one that uh, this guy, his name was Tashea Eduardo. We'll call him Eddie. Uh, Eddie had drugs in his system and had been hanging out at a local bar quite a bit. And also, Eddie had a girlfriend who uh, had been there but was not there anymore. And so you guys decided to go ahead and chase up on the bar, which I think every good RPGer will probably do first. Um, and once again, like the first thing my wife does is she's like, I show my cleavage to the bartender. I'm like, oh, okay. So it was kind of hilarious because you and her both kind of saddle up to the bar at the same time, and you're like, "Hey, over here!" And my wife just shows her boobs, and the bartender's like, "I'm going over there."
Yeah, I've got this like really high charisma skill, and I get a re-roll and all this stuff. I'm like, well, I just got outplayed by boobs.
That's what we call role playing, sir. She role played the crap out of that one. Um, yeah, and there
Well,
was actually I was
it,
expecting you guys to get a lot of information out of the bartender, but because the bartender responded to my wife, kind of showing cleavage, you guys immediately assumed like it was this like bisexual whore or something around the bar, but all it was is really just like oh hey, here's like my professional courtesy towards you guys, and you guys quickly burned through that, and the bartender just about threw you out. And
it,
I was a little worried too. I'm like, there's there's like some really big pieces of information I needed them to pick out of here. So like I was trying to start thinking ahead, like, okay, how am I going to get this info to them? But then, fortunately, there was just this drunk, passed out guy on the side of the bar, and Austin's like, oh, I'm going to take him home, help him home,
help him
and
home, help him
help
home,
him home.
not take him home.
Help him home. Whatever. We're gonna get you home, buddy. Um, and like I didn't plan for you guys to talk to this guy at all. He was just supposed to be kind of like set dressing. We're like, okay, his name is go down the list. This. Here's a
So,
name.
so as a first-time DM, what did you learn in this experience so far?
Um, I feel like preparation was really helpful. So pretty much every character you guys interacted with had a bit of a backstory. I'd made some motivations for them. They actually even have stats because I'm like, I don't know who you're going to end up hitting or punching or doing something to or whatnot, right? So um, there's a lot of depth there. And then also what I did was that I think was helpful is I actually wrote down probably there's about half a dozen just random encounters where if it ever felt like things were kind of slowing down and didn't make sense, I could just throw in there. And so that was helpful. Um, maybe I should have tried to help keep you guys kind of in the same place a little bit more than I did. Like it felt like towards the last half an hour or so we played, the party kind of got split up, and you guys kind of started doing your own things.
Yeah,
And
I did notice that it became a one on one issue.
yeah, and I was kind of like, I need to figure out a way to get you guys back together. And so, I mean, just kind of like the end of the evening was a natural way of just like, okay, and then we're all going to regroup at this place when we get back together.
Well,
But
when the snoring comes over the microphone, you know it's gone too late.
yeah, and I think that's a um, you guys were there was a few times where you were all starting to talk over each other just a little bit, and so it was like, I ask this, I do that, and it's like, okay, hold on, one at a time, because those are all good things. We just need to address them all.
We are also were using technology.
Yeah, and I think what I'd like to do next time is uh, is do it all in person. Because I think in certain situations maybe it's just fine to do online. And I definitely wouldn't say it's bad, but whereas we're all kind of new to how this is working, I think it might be helpful if we all just get in person and just kind of sit across the table from each other and work this out. Um,
But I mean, I had fun. It was an enjoyable experience. I look forward to actually getting into combat and seeing how those mechanics work out.
yeah. Here's the other thing is
Because my
there was
my
no.
guy my guy is amazing. It's in combat. Uh, I saw because he's a +3 for range weapons.
Yeah, so I remember like that's not +3 damage. Like I kind of wish it was. It's going to be +3 dice that you get to roll with it.
Yeah, I'm putting out 5 dice per shot.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's yeah.
If I,
Natalie's got +2 for her range and then +3 for her melee. Yeah, Natalie's. You and Natalie are both like butt kickers. Austin's slightly less, but I guess that takes me to my last thing is, we had this AI companion, which is the fluff actually is named or it Samara, which I, Americanized and called Samara because I think it sounds a little nicer. But when we ran it with Mike, and I don't remember the name of the AI that he had there,
Hannah,
it worked. Yeah, Hannah worked really nice, and I liked it. Hannah was kind of like our go-to source of information, and was kind of like our hacker. Um, but I was like, well, that's the way Mike did it. I'm not necessarily sure I want to do it the same way. And the way that the module had Samara outlined, kind of had them as different. They're just like this, almost more like a tour guide. They can't do anything, right? Like you guys be like, hey, Samara, can you figure this out? Um, and I was trying to, play it the way that the module had said, and so I'd be like, you can do a hacking check for that. I'm like that. I was just like, oh, that's dumb. Like that just feels really clunky and not working. And so, and to a certain extent, I was like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make Samara like this blank slate character who, is like this brand new creation and is still kind of figuring the world out a little bit. I was like, yeah, that would work. But I'm not sure you guys are really interested in that. You know,
it's a growing thing.
yeah, I'm not going to force it either. Um, but I think
Well, that's
some,
the whole Geist thing. It's every character has a Geist, and which is odd because it doesn't really say what a Geist actually does or is, but it's got a stat line and traits that it has. So it's like, okay, this Geist can be my hacker, or well, yeah, okay, a hacking helper. It's great to have, but then you have one that's a medic or has shooting, and you're like, um, is this in real life or?
yeah, like I said, and to a certain extent, like the guy sounds kind of interesting. They're like, oh, hey, because I imagine it as like your own personal Hannah, right?
Mhm.
Is what they have intended. And they're like, and by the way, you can play it so that the person to the right of them is their Geist. And so everybody gets to almost be like a little mini GM or something, and it kind of encourages interaction. But I don't know. I think that maybe Geist are amazing. I'm just not getting it. But I feel like Geist is just encouraging like crosstalk on the table, and it's gonna slow things down. So we're gonna just um, you guys are gonna have Samara 2.0 next time, which is basically just gonna function like Hannah. I rolled Samara a character, and I didn't really roll it. I picked all the stats and stuff, but Samara will be basically a hacker du jour. She can't do anything else.
But it's that needed character, the needed person in the group.
Yeah, and I did a lot of research on this, right? Like I did a ton of research. Not only being new to RPGs, but nonetheless being a GM is kind of a big step, and I've been really nervous about it because I'm like, oh my gosh, whether or not these people actually like this is all going to be dependent on me.
Yeah, you're the storyteller.
Mm-hmm. And so I did a lot of checking around, and people are really mixed on whether or not having the DM play as, playing a NPC or, kind of like a party member. Like, there's people out there who have very different opinions on
I
it.
I think it depends on the person. Um, in a sense that is your DM using this as an aid or as a character? Because then you have insight knowledge, and then it becomes a problem because then you have this character who knows what's going to happen, and it's pushing everybody in a certain way. And as long as you keep it away from that and just make it a, all right, here, this is your helper for um, an NPC, basically. I think that'll work out just fine.
Yeah, and I think it works out well as the AI, because it's pretty easy just to shove Samara in the background when you don't need her until you're like, oh, dang, I need a hacking roll, or, hey, can you give me a quick bit of information here? So I think that this will work. I think Samara will work well. And I'll let you guys, kind of, and she's a blank slate, or he. There's
It
no gender to him yet. Um, if you guys in the future want to pick a gender for it, help Samara figure out what it looks like and,
that that
different
could
things like that.
that could be a whole mission right there.
Uh, I'm hoping it's not going to be a mission. You know, I
Side quest.
I hope that it's going to be one of those things where, you're walking along like, Samara, you not having a face really bothers me. Like, can you just like put a face on?
Like Uncanny Valley type of thing.
Well, yeah, because I mean, Samara's basically walking around as just like this androgynous form right now. Doesn't have any look to them. So we'll see. But then again, I mean, you guys may have already created mental pictures for Samara that have faces, and you won't care. So we'll see. That's up to you guys.
It all boils down to how your wife's character treats her.
Yeah, Natalie had kind of, despite like her doing some really awesome stuff, and in my mind, some pretty good role playing. She was like really uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not because of you guys or anything. Like she just has no idea what she's supposed to do. Like when I was like, she's like, so what are we supposed to be doing? I'm like, well, you're going to be kind of given a situation and you're going to just work through it. She's like, but I'm not a good actor. Like, well, you don't have to be a good actor. You just got to do whatever you think you should be doing at the moment.
I think yeah, it's like RPG. It's putting on a mask, or not a mask. It's becoming that person you've always wanted to be type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, if you ever wanted to be a spy, here's a chance to be a spy. If you have, it's just those things that you never had an opportunity to, or just a branch out type of situation. And but it's cool because you
Mm-hmm.
make it your own.
Yeah. So I think in the next session, especially if we're in person, and I think with some of the streamlines we've made or I'm making, because the last thing was mechanically. So the module has all these things like, oh, have them make a test for this, and depending on how many successes they get, give them these pieces of information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other times where it's just like, if they pass, like here's a 0 level check and things like that. So I think what I'm going to start doing is and just telling you guys like what level of check you need to make. So if it's like a close combat, say make a level 1 close combat check. And so you guys know, okay, I'm shooting for 1 success, right? And that way, if there's like 3 or 4 levels, I could say make a level 4, and you'll be like, oh dang, we're really gonna. There's a lot potentially here, because like I was kind of afraid that that's letting you see behind the curtain too much, but at the same time, I'm worried that there's going to be things that you guys are going to miss, or are not going to be clear what's expected of you.
Oh, that's the nature of the game.
So, but that was one of the things that I was concerned about going in, and I'm still concerned about going out.
Oh, nobody died. That's always a good step.
Well, we'll see. This module has the combat like loaded in the rear, which I think is kind of boring. But according to Austin and Natalie, they were okay with it not being all run and gun right from the get go. So we'll see. After this, and you guys should hit the end of this by the end of the next session. And if you guys want to keep going with it, I've got enough for probably another 2 sessions, maybe 3 after that. So, and we'll just kind of take it from there. And the way I've got it is I've got combat and that strewn throughout it just a little bit more, or at least the opportunities for combat.
Well, and then I think it'll, as we grow as characters, we just grow into our style.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, overall I had a good time with it. I'm excited for the next time around. I'm also going to let you guys do more describing of the scenarios, so it's not just me talking a lot.
Yeah. What did you think of the system?
It's kind of hard. So to try and get ready for this, I've been listening to a lot of D&D podcasts to listen to the way like the GM was playing, and kind of like what I could expect other players to do. And so honestly, I feel like I could actually go and play D&D right now without much trouble. Yeah. And so this is just a little bit different. I think the system works okay. I just got to get used to describing it. Like I said, the 2d20 for any success system works all right, I suppose. I don't know. What did you think of it? Having had some experience with other systems.
Some of the stuff I'm a little clueless on. Well, not clueless, like um, expertise and focus. It's a new mechanic that I have to get into my head, and it's not really the player sheet doesn't really lay it out very well.
You know, again, as long as you just remember like experience. And so think about it like this: like with D&D, you're always trying to roll like as high as possible. But think about this as infinity, right? So whenever you're making a check, like if you're going to shoot somebody, you take your base ballistic skill of say 10, and then you add up your modifiers,
Yeah,
right? And then you
uh,
try and roll under that modified value, and that's
yeah.
what you're doing here.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll get it eventually. And it's just this first go around, I'm like, okay, um, it's just a learning curve. But it's luckily it's not so bad of a learning curve that it slows down the game. It's just a quick little thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's like I said, I think it actually will turn out okay. Um, I think it's pretty straightforward. Like, I mean, I've been looking at this for 2 or 3 weeks straight. So, in my mind, it's straightforward. And at first, I was like, this 2d20 is way too powerful, right? Because in my mind, I said,
Well,
let's say like an average skill check is 10, right? You're trying to get 10 or below. And I'm like, that's really pretty easy to do. You have a 75% chance of getting it.
yeah, well, you only get two dice. So if it's a needing um, needing three successes, then it becomes a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it does. The way you guys like try and start, paying for it through heat. And I think once we start getting into combat, we start seeing the way that heat's working. Because I don't think anybody was tracking their momentum or anything like that.
Yeah, the resource management is going to be another learning curve.
Yeah. And the weird one is basically you're allowed to buy any piece of equipment at any time as long as you roll well enough for it and you can afford it. And how you do that is not straightforward. And so what we might do is we might implement some form of store, where I say, and here's your set of equipment that you can buy if you have the resources this time. And then each play session the store stock will refresh. Or if you pick it up off a body or something like that.
I'm waiting to loot bodies.
Nobody actually tried to loot the body in the middle
Uh,
of the floor.
I'm not going to loot a body at a crime scene.
Why not? Austin went and helped himself to the bar. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to start using everything in here. It's like, but it's a crime scene. So, yeah, like I said, I thought it was fun. Austin brought up this great point, like in the middle or in the very beginning, and he told me that his character was going to kind of be like this, was kind of a character who tries to get out of work any way possible. Who's kind of spent his life ducking responsibilities. And he's like, I'm sorry, this might be really hard on you. And so Austin's like, let's just call this a suicide and be done. Drugs, this is a bam overdose. We're done. And I was like, yes. And I tried not to say anything. And you guys kind of batted it around just a little bit, but never took it seriously. But I was internally panicking because it hit me. I'm like, they could totally do that. There's no reason they couldn't do that.
Well, in that situation, you can always make it a dice off.
Well, So kind of my overarching idea for this as a DM is to not tell you guys no. I don't ever want you guys to come up with an idea or a plan and then me say no, that you can't do that, because that's stupid, right? I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose of role playing. You guys have figured out what your characters want to do. You have a plan, and maybe it's crazy and it's got a really low threshold of success.
Oh yeah, I mean, crazy plans. Let the dice gods handle that.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you want to go blow yourself out of an airlock and then try and hit the other ship, all Star Trek style. Okay, but by the way, that's a level 4 check. You guys are all going to have to work together and spend a whole ton of heat for that, which would not be a good idea because Natalie's character is totally afraid of the vacuum of space.
Oh, which I played on. Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
She kibossed the bartender. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna play fair. Well, especially when she tells me her whole life story.
So, okay, so what do you think about that? Because in my mind, I was like, oh, usually, everybody sits down and says, "Hi, my name is Bob, and Bob is a dwarf paladin, and he's got skills in X, Y, and Z." And then everybody kind of goes from there. I was like, that's like really unnatural. I kind of like this idea of these three people getting stuck together in this tram for a little bit, and then having to be like, "Hey, so what's your story?" And then not really knowing like who you can tell your actual story to, and because you say like, "Well, my name's Bob," and "Oh, Bob, what do you do?" I'm a paladin. Okay. Because like Bob wouldn't just be like, "Hi, my name is Bob. Here's my whole life story, and here's everything about me,"
Yeah.
which is exactly what Natalie did. But and it sounded about as awkward as it would be in real life. Um, but I had assumed that it was going to be a natural way for you guys to kind of, because Infinity doesn't have classes, you know, just has things that you're kind of naturally good at. I don't know. What did you think about that? Did that feel more natural, or was it just awkward because it was different?
For my character, it's like, oh, okay, you're telling me way too much, but I don't know if we're friends yet, so I may or may not use that against you. And that's what happened later on when at the bar. It's when she hijacked the bartender. I'm like, oh yeah. So how about that vacuum of space?
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what I was hoping for a little bit. And so I mean you kind of picked up on it, and it kind of played to your character. I'm not sure it worked so well for the others, but we'll see. I I mean I think you guys have all generally figured out that you guys are, Austin's the kind of guy who will, you know, drink a dead man's booze, do drugs, and kind of do whatever. Natalie's just a person who doesn't like other people, and you're somewhere in the middle. You're the most personable of the bunch.
I'm the charismatic guy who won't blink twice about shooting but somebody.
There you go. So, and this is kind of what I expected. You guys have all leaned fairly heavily towards gunplay.
Well, that's just my my generated character. So I'm like,
Well,
okay,
it's also
it's generated. I was like, when we first did it, I was like, oh, I want to be Hawk Islam, assassin. And you know what? I'll just let the dice gods tell me what to do this time, and I'm pretty happy with my character.
I wanted to. I tried to talk Natalie into being um, not an antipode,
Dog
oh
face.
Lord, yeah, dog face. And I'm like, you don't. I'm like, and I was trying to tell him like, and you don't tell anybody you're a dog face until like the first time you guys get into combat, and then you just go crazy, and it's gonna blow them away. And she's just like, no, I don't want to be that. That's dumb. I was like, oh, that would have been like, I just would have loved that. You know, I was like, okay, oh, and Natalie, so you take a hit, and she's like, and then I transform into this giant thing with claws, and he's like, how crazy would that be? You're just sitting there like in, you know, this tiny little, Asian girl all of a sudden turns into a werewolf. Like, I just thought that was going to be so cool, but she didn't want to do it. It's like, yeah, don't like ever allude to it or anything until it happens, and then never talk about it again afterwards. So, but yeah. So, anyways, that was kind of it. It was fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Speaking of Infinity, the ITS season is going to end here soon.
2016, we hardly knew you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that means it's going to be a reset on everything. So, your big comeback is right around the corner.
Heck yeah, baby. That's why I'm painting all my stuff up. I'm fully painted, ready to go.
Nice. Uh, have you heard anything for next season, or I guess it's been hush hush because of Interplanetario.
Yeah, I think the idea is that they really want to make Interplanetary the time when they showcase everything, and that's going to be like their big splash in the pond. So no, I haven't heard anything one way or the other on it. I am mad. I mean, kind of like how we saw from 15 to 16, we didn't see a whole lot of big changes. We saw mission tweaks and that sort of thing, which is kind of what I'm expecting. But that's about it. It'll be missions will be 90% the same, just a few tweaks here and there.
Any missions you didn't like?
Um, no, there's none that I really don't, or there's none that I really dislike. There's some I there's some I like more than others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in general, I'm not a fan of InfoWar or using InfoWar. I feel like it's dumb and kind of non-tactical. But I've gone over that 100 times before. So anything with InfoWar, I'm less than keen on.
There's some I haven't even tried yet because it came out in the Human Sphere book, like the tic tac toe.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm picking that up.
Human
So I'm,
Sphere?
I'm using some. Yeah, I'm picking up. I'm using some frontline credits to pick up the book.
Nice.
It's part of being a good GM. I figure I want all the fluff possible.
I'll buy all the things.
Not all the things, just like the different books. Because I really do like the Infinity fluff. It, that's one of the reasons why I was like, I'll be the GM because I think out of all of us, I know the fluff better than anyone. So it only makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I know it's going to be interesting for organizers. They will have to you will no no super last minute list building because I think they're going to require people to submit their list before the event.
So the only problem I have with that is like, how often do you have day of show ups for tournaments? Like, that's just kind of a thing.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be a little bit more work for the tournament organizers.
Yeah, like, I guess they can do it. It's their way of, of course, but they can run their tournament system whatever they want. But, and I understand the benefits of that. And there's a lot of big tournaments that do that. But to make regional tournaments do that, or, like little store tournaments do it, I'm not sure I like.
Also, from like a data analysis, I see it as a good thing because you'll be able to track kind of like who's using what armies are doing better, and maybe people are using. Because I mean, well, what you take to a tournament doesn't really decide how well you do, but it's a good starting point at least on showing what that they want to make sure everything's balanced.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's a lot of benefits to it. Yeah, it's going to give them a lot of information, but in terms of just like the smaller games, I feel like it doesn't really benefit them. But whatever. It's their game, not mine.
All right. Well, I think that's all that we have. Do you have anything else tonight?
No, that's it for me.
My last little thing is if you tonight is the last night to sign up for War Games Consortium Infinity Challenge for Draconic Awards. This is going to be my painting submission. So tonight's the last night, and then you have until the 31st to submit your finished entry.
Yeah, I have no idea why they're doing that, but whatever. So, all right, that's it.
Cool. Like this video. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to see more. Put a comment down below. Tell us what you think. Let's start a conversation. Can you see anything else?
No, just as always, if there's anything that you find interesting or you'd like us to take a look at, shoot us an email at theatomicsalt@gmail.com. This has been The Atomic Salt, and my DM prowess has blown your minds.
Good night, folks. See you next week.